"I'm not clean enough to love," she said, trembling but still. She held his hand asterisk. He was just a maintenance grunt. An old Earthborn's tech with oil-stained fingers, stiff knees, and more regrets than medals. Hank Riley wasn't a hero. He didn't wear a shiny uniform or bark commands in command bridges. He fixed broken oxygen lines, replaced burnt-out relays, and prayed every shift that nothing exploded while he was near it. So when the power died in galley stations, hydroponics. Bay again, he groaned, grabbed his toolkit, and muttered something about cheap wiring and cheaper station management. The place was falling apart. Half the lights flickered like drunk fireflies, and the other half didn't work at all. No one really lived here, not anymore. It's just scavengers, smugglers, and people like him. Forgotten, he slid open the bulkhead, stepped into the dark bay, and tapped his helmet light. The green beams danced across rows of limp, dying plants and busted fans. His scanner blinked, showing a surge of heat near the coolant condenser. Probably a rat, or one of those maintenance drones losing its mind again, he muttered. But it wasn't. When he crouched to look behind the condenser, his breath caught. Not a drone, not a rat, a woman, or something close to one. She was crouched low, arms wrapped. Tight around her body, her back pressed to the cold metal wall. Her skin was the color of ocean water at sunset, soft teal that shimmered faintly in the dark.
Act.
Long silver hair hung in tangled strands over her face. One shoulder was slick with blood, a deep gash still dripping. She looked up at him, eyes wide, glowing faint violet. "Don't touch me, human," she hissed, her voice low, cracked, shaking. "You'll break me." Hank froze. He'd seen strange things on fringe stations, but nothing like her. "I'm not gonna hurt you," he said, slowly lifting both hands. She didn't move, didn't blink. He noticed her breathing fast, shallow, like a wild animal backed into a corner. She was injured, cold, scared. He took a step back. "All right," he said gently. "I'll go." He turned, and that's when it happened. Her hand shot out, not to attack, but to grab his wrist. Her fingers were long and smooth, her grip weaker than it looked. She held on like he was the last stable thing in the universe. "You're warm," she whispered, barely audible. "Why are you so warm?" He turned his head slightly, trying to see her better. Her eyes were locked onto his, filled with confusion. And something else? Need, fear? Wonder. "You're freezing," he said, keeping his voice calm. "You're bleeding too. We need to get you help." "No," she said quickly, pulling back just slightly. "They'll find me. If you take me anywhere, they'll find me. Who's they?" But she didn't answer, just tightened. Her grip, like she was afraid he'd disappear if she'd let go. He sighed. "All right. No medbay. Just my quarters. Safe. Quiet. No scanners." Still holding his wrist, she slowly nodded. He helped her up, careful not to pull too hard. She was taller than he expected, but light, too light, like she hadn't eaten in weeks. Her legs trembled with every step. The tattered fabric she wore barely counted as clothing, more like ceremonial rags than anything practical. Hank tried not to stare, but it was hard to ignore the way her body glowed faintly in the dim light. Not bright, just a gentle pulse. Along her veins, like bioluminescent veins under soft skin, she walked beside him in silence. Every few steps, leaning slightly closer to his side, like she was drawn to his heat. Or maybe just tired. Back at his quarters, a cramped one-room tech cabin barely big enough for two, he sat her down on the edge of his bunk. "You got a name?" he asked. She hesitated. "Arental," he nodded. "I'm Hank." She looked around the room, her eyes pausing on the heating unit humming in the corner, then drifting back to him. "This place is warm," she said quietly, then softer. "You are warm." Hank shrugged off his jacket, handed it to her. She took it, eyes wide like she didn't know what to do with the kindness. "You hungry?" She blinked. "I don't know. I'll make something simple." heated a protein pack. The smell of fake beef and potatoes filled the cabin. Not much, but better than starving. She ate in slow, cautious bites, watching him the whole time like he might vanish if she blinked. Afterward, she curled up on the floor, holding his jacket close to her chest. "You can take the bed," Hank offered. "It's not much, but better than the floor." "No," she said. "Here is fine, it's warm." He didn't argue, but an hour later, just as he started drifting off to sleep, he felt movement near the edge of the bed. She climbed up slowly, like a cat testing unfamiliar ground, and settled beside him without a word. She didn't touch him, but she stayed close. Closer than he expected. Hank didn't move. Didn't ask. She whispered, "I didn't mean to grab you, but I was drawn." "To what?" "To you." And then, silence. The good kind. The kind you don't want to break. Hank stared at the ceiling, one hand resting near hers. He had a feeling tomorrow wasn't going to be quiet, and strangely, didn't mind. Hank didn't sleep much that night. Not because she was in his bed, though that was a first, but because he didn't know what the hell she was. Every time he glanced over, Erin was still curled under his old thermal blanket like some scared animal. The glow beneath her skin had dimmed, but every few minutes it flared just a little, especially when she rolled closer to his side. He didn't touch her, didn't dare. But he didn't move away either. She was scared, alone, half frozen. But somehow, she'd reached for him. Not a scanner, not a comlink. Him, by morning, she was awake before he was, sitting on the edge of the bed, silent, hugging his jacket. "You snore," she said. Hank blinked. "Sorry. It's comforting. Like you're still alive." He rubbed his eyes. "I've been called worse." A small smile flickered across her lips, just for a second, and then vanished. Hank got up, brewed a thick mug of station sludge coffee, and slid one toward her. She sniffed it, grimaced, and handed it back. "I don't think this qualifies." "As food?" he smirked. "Some would say the same about our politics." Then the questions started. She sat on the bunk, legs tucked under her, watching him move around the room. Every motion he made, every tool he picked up, she tracked with sharp, curious eyes. Not fearful anymore, fascinated. "You breathe heavy," she said. "Human lungs," he replied, adjusting a power panel. "Big, inefficient, loud as hell. Your body runs hot. Thermal regulation. We sweat. Smells bad. Keeps us alive. You're solid, dense. I felt it when I touched you." Paused and gave her a raised brow. She didn't blush, didn't even flinch. Just looked at him with the blunt curiosity of someone used to studying life forms under microscopes, only now she was the one being studied. "What are you?" Hank finally asked, not unkindly. "Just honest." She hesitated, her gaze dropping to her glowing fingers. "I'm Valari." One of the last. She touched the gash on her shoulder, now wrapped in his med patch. "My kind wasn't meant to survive." "What does that mean?" Erin's voice lowered. "We were engineered. Modified over generations. No pain. Number. Hunger. No sex. No pleasure." That last word hung in the air like smoke. "No sex?" Hank repeated, almost choking on his coffee. "That's a hell of a design flaw." She tilted her head. "It was intentional.
Adding.
Made us weak. They said. So we were sterilized, neutralized, denied all mating drives. Our bodies forgot how to feel." Hank stared, unsure if he was horrified or just incredibly sad, and now she lifted her hand, the same one that had grabbed his wrist the night before, and looked at her palm like it had betrayed her. "Now, I touch you, and everything comes back. My body heats. My skin glows. I feel things I don't have names for." Her voice dropped, trembling slightly. "I was bred not to want. But near you I burn." Hank cleared his throat. "Well, damn." She looked up sharply. "Is that normal for humans? Burning? It's usually only after bad tacos?" She frowned. "Tacos. Never mind." A pause, then she asked, softer, Is this why your species bonds couples the heat? He laughed. That's the start of it, sure. But it's more than just biology, Aaron. It's emotion, connection, trust. Trust, she whispered. That word feels heavy, it is. He handed her a clean shirt, one of his old uniforms, faded and soft. She pulled it on without modesty. The hem hung halfway to her knees. She didn't care. She looked at him again, eyes narrow, curious. You aren't like the others. I get that a lot, Hank muttered. Most humans grab, demand, they stare. Asterisk, I do stare, Hank admitted. You're blue and glowing. That's hard to ignore. But you didn't touch me. I don't touch anyone who doesn't want to be touched. That seemed to land hard. She looked away. Her glow pulsed brighter. My kind made contact. With humans decades ago, she said. But only in labs. Controlled settings. Genetic harvesting. They called your people. Unstable breeders? He raised an eyebrow. Charming. They feared you, she added. Your strength, your size, your drive. She stopped. He smirked. Go on. She blinked. Your reproductive efficiency. Big lungs. Big hearts. Big reproductive systems. She finished, voice dry. They both laughed. Soft moment but real. Then her smile faded. They hunted me for it, she said. The researchers. They found traces of reactivated bonding hormones in my blood. Thought I'd been exposed to something alien. They didn't know it was you, so you ran. Yes, and found me. No, she corrected. I found warmth. You just happened to carry it. Hank stood, stared at her for a long beat. She wasn't shivering anymore. Her glow had softened. Her posture, once tense and curled inward, had opened. She was comfortable with him. You gonna stay? She blinked. Do you want me to? I don't usually keep glowing alien women in my bunk, but I might make an exception. Another smile, bigger this time. I'll stay, she said. Good. But neither of them said the thing they were both thinking. She'd touched him once. For warmth now, it might be for something more than that. That was just the beginning. Asterisk, it had been 6 days since Aaron climbed into Hank's bed, and she hadn't left his cabin since. Not that Hank minded. She didn't eat much, barely slept, and spoke in bursts, quiet, focused, curious. But she moved through his cramped quarters like she belonged there. Like she'd always been part of the background hum, the smell of coolant, the static hiss of the air scrubber fighting for its last breath. She wore his clothes. What? His blanket. Hell, she even stole his favorite wrench, not that she knew what it did, but she liked the feel of the metal in her hands. Why do you keep tools under your pillow? She asked one night. In case something breaks while I'm dreaming? Dream about fixing things? Sometimes. Usually I just dream about beer and socks without holes. She looked confused. Socks are a reproductive concept. You nearly spit his water out. Not unless you're doing it very wrong. That was the thing with Aaron. She was sharp but totally disconnected from human context. She didn't get metaphors. She didn't get sarcasm, but she was learning quickly. Some mornings she'd sit cross-legged on the floor, wrapped in his shirt, watching old Terran media files, sitcoms, romance dramas, nature documentaries. She liked the ones about whales. They sing, she said. Even when no one answers. Yeah, Hank said. We're like that too. At night, she curled up beside him in silence. No touching, not much talking, just her presence, her heat, her glow, faint, soft. Always a little brighter when she was near his chest. She didn't say why. She probably didn't know, but Hank was starting to get a theory. It started with her breath. One night, she woke him. Not on purpose. He just noticed she was breathing faster. Soft pants, lips slightly parted, one hand fisted in the blanket. Aaron, he asked. She opened her eyes, glowing faint silver. I'm fine. You're sweating. I know. Valari aren't supposed to sweat, right? No, she whispered. We're not. He reached out just barely and touched the back of her hand. Her skin was hot, not fever hot, not sick, hot, need-hot, and then he realized she was reacting to him still. Stronger now. Her body was changing, adjusting, wanting. Is it pain? He asked. Gentle. She shook her head. It's worse. Worse than pain. She looked at him then, fully, deeply, her glow rising like moonlight across her collarbones. I want it, she said, and I don't know what that means. He went still, carefully still, like a man walking a minefield in socks. You want what exactly? Her fingers crept toward his chest, stopping just short of touching. You, the heat, the presence, I feel it in my spine. This, in my bones. He swallowed. Biological reaction, sure. But the look in her eyes wasn't just about pheromones, it was longing. Still. He didn't move. You don't owe me anything, he said softly. I know. That's why I want to stay. Lay there listening. To the broken hum of the ceiling vent, her breath slowing beside him, her glow fading to soft blue. She didn't reach again. But she didn't move away either. And in that silence, Hank made a decision. He was going to keep her safe. Even from himself. The next day, he doubled the lock protocols on his cabin. Upped the thermal shields, rewrote his ident codes. She watched him the whole time, sitting at the edge of the bunk with a piece of toast in her mouth, like some confused bird. You think they're still looking for me? She asked. I think if they're smart, they gave up, he said. But if they're dumb, they'll try to take me. They'll try. He gave her a look. They won't succeed. She tilted her head. You're not a warrior. No, you're not fast. Certainly not. You have no formal weapons training. Only what I picked up from low-budget action vids. She smiled. So why do I feel safe here? He shrugged. Might be the socks. They're nearly bulletproof. She snorted. An actual laugh. It's the first real one since she arrived. The sound startled them both. What? It lit the room more than her glow ever could. That night, something shifted. She lay beside him like always, still quiet, heat radiating between them. But this time, she rolled toward him. Her arm draped over his chest. Not by accident. Not out of sleep. Deliberate. He didn't speak. Her hand moved up to his shoulder. Then his neck. It's just resting there, her thumb gently brushing his jawline. Know now, she said softly, what it means. To want something. Hank's voice was dry. And what's that? To fear losing it. Her lips brushed his cheek. Not fully a kiss. It's just a question. He didn't answer with words. Just turned his face slightly. Let their foreheads touch. It wasn't a claim. It wasn't lust. It was contact. Simple. True. Steady. And in that moment, Erin closed her eyes. Didn't glow. She radiated. A quiet, pulsing light filled the room. Her whole body alight. And not painful, not forced. Just real. She whispered, I think my body is trying to bond. Hank held still, in your mind. She smiled, her voice almost inaudible. It already has. 3 weeks passed. In the quiet dark of Galley's station's forgotten corner, Erin and Hank built something that wasn't supposed to exist. Not according to her people. Not according to the syndicates who wanted her caged. Not even according to Hank, who had long stopped believing good things happened to old maintenance grunts with aching backs and secondhand boots. But there she was, every morning. Still in his bed, still glowing, not always physically, that came and went, but inside. In her eyes, in her voice. She was waking up, piece by piece. And he was the reason. She had started helping with repairs, surprising Hank with her intuition. Her touch was soft but precise, her mind sharp. She picked up electrical diagrams like poetry. It was almost unnerving. You ever used a plasma torch before? He asked one afternoon, handing her one. No, she said. Then she flipped the safety, sparked it, and welded a cracked coolant line in 15 seconds. But I've studied 3. Hank just stared. I might be in love, he muttered. I'm not sure what that means, she replied. You're holding a plasma torch and didn't melt your face? It's close enough. Their life was quiet, but not idle. He taught her how to cook synthetic eggs, though she hated the taste. She taught him how Valari navigate by scent patterns somehow. She could smell a plasma leak before his scanner pinged. He didn't ask how. He just nodded and handed her a wrench. They didn't talk much about what they were. Not lovers, not quite partners, not roommates. There were no labels. Just shared silence and stolen glances, and the kind of comfortable closeness that doesn't require a definition. But Erin had begun to change. Not just her mood, not just her curiosity, her body, her temperature stabilized. Her glow grew stronger, not all the time, just in waves. She craved human food now. She laughed more. In some mornings, she threw up. At first, Hank thought it was the protein packs. The expiry dates were more like guidelines. But when she vomited twice in the same hour and then curled up on the floor with her hand on her stomach, he got worried. You okay? He asked, kneeling beside her. I don't know, she said softly. My body feels busy. Busy how? Like it's preparing, rewriting. He blinked. You're not? Erin looked up at him. I didn't think it was possible, she whispered. We were engineered sterile. That's why I escaped. I was an error, a deviation. She placed his hand gently on her stomach. I think your biology overruled mine, Hank. Went still, didn't speak. Couldn't his hand just rested there, warm against her belly, feeling nothing yet. But the idea rooted deep in his chest, she continued. Valari gestation wasn't designed to happen without artificial support. But your touch, it jump-started something. Hank swallowed. Are you saying You didn't do anything wrong, she said quickly, reading the guilt in his face. You didn't force this. I chose it. I chose you, my body. Just followed. He let out a long breath and sat beside her. For a while, they just sat there on the floor, backs against the cabin wall, and still pressed together over her stomach. Then he said, Guess this makes us roommates and parents. She chuckled. You take the night shifts. Deal. But the laughter didn't last. Later that night, while he was upgrading the life support intake, his cum crackled. Someone was tapping into the station's power relay, a hidden source. Unregistered. Close. Hank's heart dropped. No one had come near Galley's station in weeks. Not officially. But this was too clean, too careful. A low-power signal bouncing between derelict antenna arrays. Watching, he slid the cabin door shut and bolted it, checked the charge on his shock baton, and turned to her. We might have company. Her glow dimmed. Syndicate, could just be scavengers, but I doubt it. She stood, hand on her stomach. If they're looking for me, they're not taking you, he said. I'd set this whole station on fire first. Wouldn't that kill us too? Only if I mess up the airlock timers. She actually smiled. That's disturbingly romantic. They shut down every non-essential system, killed the heat, blocked all comes. They powered down everything, until the cabin felt like a tomb. Cold, still, silent. Then they waited 2 hours later. The motion sensor blinked. A ship, small, silent. Docking clamp deployed. Hank moved fast, pulled Erin into the back maintenance corridor behind the false wall where old CO2 scrubbers were stored. He'd gutted it weeks ago. Now it was their hideaway. Stay here, no matter what. He pressed his lips to her forehead. No, you're not dying for me. I'm not losing you. I already lost too many. And then he left, leaving only the faint warmth of his skin on her face. She sat in the dark, surrounded by metal and silence. Her glow dimmed to nothing. And yet, beside her, something burned. Not fear. Resolve. She'd survived labs. She'd survived surgery, implants, cold rooms. Scanners that dissected her brainwaves and told her she wasn't supposed to feel anything. But she'd felt Hank, and now there was something new inside her. Not just a child. Purpose. No one would take it from her. Not again. Asterisk, they came quietly. Not like raiders, who crash in loud and wild, looking to scare. No, this was surgical, methodical. A soft click of airlock override. A brief flicker and pressure. The sound of boots, not stomping, but placing. Professional syndicate. Hank crouched behind the console in the generator corridor, gripping the shock baton like a club. It wasn't much. He'd rigged to overload charges under the floor grates and one directional blast behind the coolant tank. If they tried to breach too deep, they'd get a rude introduction to Galley's station's unstable plumbing. The intruders. Split up. He counted 4 sets of footsteps. Maybe 5. No words, no light. Just the cold hum of practiced monsters doing their job. He glanced at the monitor. Erin's heat signature hadn't moved. She was still hidden in the false wall, curled behind the storage racks. Still trusting him to keep her safe, he gritted his teeth. Come on, Riley. You've done stupider things for less important people. Down. The hall, a shadow moved. One of them. Black armor, compact rifle, visor glowing red. Hank didn't wait. He triggered the venting coil, blasting steam into the corridor. The merc flinched. That was enough. Hank swung from behind the tank, slammed the baton into the man's knee. There was a crunch and a shout. He followed up with a second hit to the helmet. The man went down hard, 2 on West Junction, 1 down. A voice crackled over a cum. Damn, they weren't just hunters. They were coordinated. Hank backed up, dropped a stun grenade into the corridor, and sealed the bulkhead that would buy him a minute. Maybe 2. He sprinted toward the cabin, heart pounding. He could feel it. They weren't after scrap. They were after her. If they scanned the station's old med logs, they'd find traces of her biology, cross-referenced with Terran DNA. The pregnancy would be confirmed, and that was worth everything to the syndicate. He reached the corridor and froze. The door to the storage crawlspace was open. She wasn't inside. He turned sharply, and there she was, standing in the hall, wearing his old flight jacket and holding a plasma torch. In one hand, her skin was glowing brighter than he'd ever seen. Not just blue, now gold flickered at the edges. Her eyes burned like twin suns. I told you to hide, Hank said, panting. I changed my mind. You're pregnant. I'm not helpless. It fooled me. She stepped toward him. Her hand touched his chest, and he felt it. A wave of heat, not just warmth, but energy. His knees buckled slightly. What the hell was that? My body, she whispered, is activating. Activating what? She looked toward the approaching footsteps. The part that was designed to protect offspring. Wait, are you saying you're a weapon? No. I'm saying Valari weren't meant to run. We were meant to be more. But they turned us into test subjects. Breeders. Property. The mercs were closing in. Hank grabbed her hand. Then let's show them what property does when it fights back. They ran together. He led her to the central chamber, a half-dead power core room that used to regulate the station's old fusion banks. Rusted catwalks, burnt-out consoles, but still plenty of cover. He took position on the upper balcony. She stood in the center. Bait 2 mercs entered first. One with a net gun, one with a neural whip.
Ow.
They didn't hesitate. They had her surrounded in seconds. You're coming with us? Subject V108? I have a name, she said, voice calm. Don't care. She raised her hands. They moved too. Fire. That's when she exploded. Not literally. Not with fire. With light, her body flashed, skin erupting in streams of bioluminescence, pulsing like a live electric field. Gold and violet arcs burst from her fingers. The air itself shimmered. Both mercs staggered, screaming, their visors melting from the surge. Hank stared. Erin, what the hell? My cells are reacting to stress, she said, eyes wide. My hormones are building defensive signals. The fetus is triggering. A resonance? You're saying the baby's protecting you?
Us.
She corrected. A third merc lunged from the shadows, blade drawn. Hank jumped down from the balcony, slammed into him shoulder first. The 2 men crashed into a control. panel. Sparks flew, but Hank didn't stop. He punched, elbowed, slammed the guy's helmet into the console, till it cracked. Then silence, just the crackle of damaged lights. The soft hum of Erin's breath, and the realization. It was over. She dropped the torch and walked to him. Her glow had dimmed, but not vanished. Her skin was slick with sweat, hair clinging to her forehead. He looked at her, really looked. She wasn't just beautiful. She was impossible. And she was his. "You still breathing?" she asked. "Barely," he groaned. "You lit up like a Christmas bomb? Warn me next time." She touched his cheek. "You were the first person I ever trusted." He placed a hand gently on her stomach. "And now, I'm gonna be a father." "I don't know what that means." "It means we're a family." She blinked. "Even though I'm not like you, you're better," he whispered. "Smarter, stronger, shinier." She smiled. Then she kissed him. There, in the wreckage of a half-dead station, surrounded by the bodies of those who tried to steal her future. She kissed him like it was the only thing that mattered. And maybe it was because now, they weren't just surviving, they were living. Asterisk, the station was quiet now. Too quiet, if you asked Hank. Galleys had never been a busy place. But after the fight, after the syndicate team went down, it felt like the station was holding its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. The cleanup took 2 days. Hank dragged the bodies to the old launch shaft, vented them into the dark, and welded the hatch shut. The weapons he kept. The armor he stripped and melted, left no traces, no tags, no data cores. No reason for the syndicate to come looking again. He didn't sleep much. But when he did, it was next to her, Erin. She didn't say much either. Not right away. Her body was still recovering, glowing in smaller pulses, feverish at night, calm in the mornings. The pregnancy, if that's what you could call it, was doing something inside her. Changing her slowly, quietly, not in a way that frightened her, in a way that made her curious. "I can feel it," she whispered one night, curled into his chest. "The baby?" Hank asked, his hand on her stomach again. She nodded. "It's not just mine anymore." "Well," he said softly, "that makes 3 of us." They shared more moments like that. Warm, still, strange. But every time she smiled now, it wasn't guarded. It wasn't fake. It was real. She wore his shirt in the mornings, made instant coffee, even though she hated it, and walked barefoot through the corridor like she owned it. And maybe she did. She'd changed more than just her biology. She'd changed him. Hank was different now, too. Less tired. He didn't walk like the galaxy owed him pain anymore. He smiled more. He stood up straighter. Sometimes, when Erin wasn't looking, he'd just watch her memorizing the curve of her jaw when she laughed, or the way her fingers trailed along metal surfaces like they were alive. "You ever think we were supposed to meet?" he asked once. She looked at him, tilted her head. "You mean fate? Yeah, I don't know what that is." "Well," he said, "then maybe it's just dumb luck." She grinned. "Lucky for you, they started fixing the station together. Not just patch jobs, actual rebuilding. The hydroponics bay was the first target. Hank wanted real food, and Erin wanted to grow something. "You're nesting," teased. "I'm upgrading our oxygen efficiency," she replied deadpan. "Sure," he smirked. "And I'm growing potatoes because I like science." She didn't argue. She just kissed his cheek and kept planting. They made plans now. Simple ones. What to grow, what to repair, where to hide a backup escape shuttle, just in case the syndicate ever returned. But the bigger decision came quietly. They were lying in bed, her head on his shoulder when she said it. "We should leave." Hank didn't answer at first. "Not now," she added quickly. "Just soon, before they come again. Before the baby's born." He nodded. "You want to run?" "No," she said. "I want to build." Ow. "I don't want to raise a child underground. I want them to see stars. I want them to have a ship, a home that moves." That made Hank pause. His hand moved through her silver hair. "A ship of our own," he said slowly. "You want to fly again? Need to fly again?" she whispered. He understood that. Flying wasn't just escape. It was control. Freedom for someone like her. who'd spent her life in labs and cages, meant finally choosing her own sky. "We'll find one," he said. "I want to name it. Deal. Asterisk and I wanted to have shields and cannons and a kitchen. Of course," he chuckled. "Kitchen comes first, and a proper bunk," she said, reaching for his hand. "No more sleeping next to a reactor coil." Hank squeezed her fingers. No more hiding. They spent the next 3 days prepping, packing, planning. The station had a decommissioned freighter to baze over, rusted, hull cracked, ignored. But Hank had seen the bones, and Erin, she had the touch. They called it the second wind. Fitting, it was barely holding together. Just like them, but it flew. 1 week later they launched, not with ceremony, not with fanfare, just quiet. Erin sat in the pilot's chair. Hank in the co-pilot's seat, his boots. Up on the dash, the baby, or whatever stage it was, curled safely beneath her skin, her glow soft and steady now. Just present, before they jumped to light speed. She reached over and tapped the comms panel. She opened a recording line. "Valeri survivors," she said. "If any of you hear this, I'm still alive. I'm not in a cage. I'm not broken. I'm not alone." She looked at Hank. "I bonded with a human. I chose it. I choose him." A pause. "I'm not property. I'm not an experiment. I'm free. And if you want the same..." She smiled. "You know where to find me?" She ended the transmission. Hank looked at her. "You just put a target on our backs." "I put a light in the dark." He nodded. "Dame. Thing, most days." She reached for the throttle. "You ready?" "Always." The second wind launched forward, breaking away from Galley Station like a soul finally released from its cage. Behind them, darkness, silence, scars. Ahead of them, unknown stars. And in between, two hearts, one bond, and a new life waiting to be. Born under open skies, the second wind drifted through the edge of the Orion Shelf, quiet zone of neglected star maps and forgotten moons. The stars here weren't on trade routes, no patrols, no stations. It's just silence and sky. Perfect. Exactly what they needed. It had been 2 months since they left Galley Station. 2 months since Hank nearly died defending the woman he barely understood, but somehow couldn't live without. Since Erin touched his chest and said, "I think we're meant for more." Now, they were waiting for someone. For something. A birth. Yes. But also, a beginning. Erin was different now. More grounded, more open. Her glow came in softer waves. She didn't hide it anymore. She wore sleeveless shirts, her blue skin, alive with gold light whenever she laughed. She even teased Hank when he burned breakfast, which was often. "You can rewire a shield generator," she said once, sipping juice from a tin mug, "but you still can't tell when eggs are done?" He looked up from the pan. "They're space eggs. Don't have rules. They're black. They're boldly cooked." She chuckled and walked past, pressing a kiss to his cheek. There were hundreds of moments like that now. Gentle ones, simple ones. Hadn't had that in years. The ship was theirs. The future was unclear, but for once, it was exciting. They'd made a home in motion. She decorated the cockpit with old data chips turned into hanging spirals. He built a second bunk, smaller, reinforced, tucked just behind the nav console. 4. The baby, and they talked. Every night, what they wanted, what scared them, what it meant to raise a child who wasn't fully human, or Valeri, but something new. Something born of love, choice, survival, and stubborn hope. Aaron called it the between. Hank just called it ours. Then, one quiet evening, she gripped his hand in the middle of dinner and said, calmly, "It's time." He dropped his fork. "Now here." "No," she said, exhaling. "In a few hours, but yes, here." He blinked. "Okay, breathe. We practiced this. Remember the protocol? I mean when you tripped over the med bag and fainted halfway through the tutorial? We'll wing it." She lay down in the aft cabin while he ran around in panic, checking sterilizers, prepping towels, cursing at a birthing manual that had been translated from a mining dialect and included step-by-step instructions on egg laying, which definitely wasn't helpful. But Aaron, she was calm, focused, brilliant, and glowing brighter than ever. The birth wasn't easy. Her body wasn't made for natural delivery. Neither was his for helping with one. There was blood, screaming. At one point she grabbed his shirt so hard, she tore it in half. But Hank didn't let go of her hand. Not once. When the child finally arrived, slick, warm, crying, the ship felt like it had changed. Like the stars themselves paused. The baby was small. Blue skin, flecked with faint golden shimmer. Tiny fingers. Full head of silver hair. She opened her eyes, and both Hank and Aaron gasped, violet just like Aaron's, but with a ring of green at the edge. Earth green dot. She was both of them, a perfect split. Aaron held her close, eyes wide, tears streaking down her cheeks. "I never thought I'd feel this," she whispered. Hank touched her shoulder. "You okay?" She nodded. "I'm not broken, but..." He said softly, "You never were." They named her Lyra. After a star, Aaron said she'd watched as a child from the window of her holding cell, a light she always wanted to reach. And now, Lyra was the star, the first of her kind. Valari born not in a lab or a genetic tank, but in love. On a ship, with a father who cursed at fried eggs, and a mother who could short out a merc squad just by blinking too hard. For the next few weeks, they didn't jump, didn't travel, they stayed adrift, wrapped in quiet. Feeding, sleeping, singing. Yes, Aaron sang. It wasn't melodic, not in the way Hank knew music. It was more like pulses of sound, low and rich. Her skin lit in sync. With her voice, Lyra responded every time, smiling, humming back. Hands outstretched like she understood the song already. "She's learning fast," Hank said. "She knows us," Aaron replied. And then one night, while Hank was asleep, Aaron sat in the pilot's chair, Lyra cradled against her chest. She looked out at the stars and opened the "Come Again. This is Aaron Tao, former subject. 5 to 108. This message is open." She paused. "I have given birth to a hybrid child, Valari and human. She is healthy. She is free. We are free." Her voice wavered just slightly. "If there are others like me, lost, discarded, hunted, there's still hope. There's still family, and there is warmth." She looked down at her daughter, who blinked up at her with those impossible eyes. "You were not built to suffer. You were not made to obey. You were meant to love, to feel, to live. I know that now, because I found someone who made me feel whole." She smiled. "No cage, no code, no syndicate owns us anymore." She pressed her forehead gently to Lyra's. "We're building a future out here. You're welcome to find us." She ended the message and didn't send coordinates. Just left the beacon open. She didn't need to say more. The message would carry, across dead channels, into lonely corners of space, to ears desperate to believe there was more to life than pain. And somewhere, someone would hear it. The second, wind continued drifting. Hank eventually stirred and walked up behind her, rubbing his eyes. "She's still up?" "Just like her father," Aaron said. He chuckled. "Right. You say that like it's a good thing." They stood together, arms around each other, looking out into a galaxy too big for either of them to conquer, but small enough now to call home. Lyra cooed in her mother's arms. The stars blinked slowly, as if in approval. And the human and the alien, who were never meant to bond, never meant to love, never meant to raise a child together, just stood there, together, not surviving, not running, just living. For the first time in their lives, they were free. The end.